welcome to this week's episode of the Running Channel podcast with me, the fashionista Sarah Hartley, Andy Baddeley, who's currently wearing socks and slides, and Rick Kelsey in the corner. I mean, the less we say about his fashion, the better. And you're also wearing light blue, which is risky in such a warm room. But today we're going to be talking about, is running back in fashion? Let's get into it.
I once went out in a sarong, Sarah.
I've witnessed this.
For a run?
Yeah. No. Did you say yes?
No. You said yes without thinking about it.
Let's hear more about that after the music.
That is actually true.
Yeah, I think this was straight off the back of David Beckham making a sarong.
What is a sarong?
It's basically just a skirt.
A skirt.
It's wrapped around
you maybe
fabric,
after you've been to the pool.
Oh, and was it after the pool?
No, it was on a night out in Manchester.
And you unironically wore it?
Correct.
Lovely.
Yes, Rick has unironically done lots of things in his time.
Yeah.
Like make a song.
That was not ironic, unfortunately.
Hey, you know what? The count numbers on the song have gone up quite a lot recently.
Have they?
How many people have listened
it's
to it
gone
more
from
than
10
once?
to 20 listens.
It's doubled, yeah.
Incredible.
You mean it's not just been watched by your mum anymore?
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's
The
great.
Last Man on Earth by Rick Kelsey. Check it out.
How's your running been going, mate?
Well, it's been tricky because you two have been getting me to go up 10% every week.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've gone up the 10% every week, maybe a little bit too quickly. Maybe I should have plateaued. So taken 10%, gone for a week instead of every week going 10%. Because I realised that if I do go to 10% every week, by the time we get to December the 15th, I'm going to be on about 250 kilometres. So I've scaled it up incorrectly.
You're the epitome of just like, you follow advice too well.
You two told me what to do, and I followed it.
Yeah.
We've told you to be quiet on the podcast before, though.
Yeah, and you've never followed that.
Well, anyway, I had a few nice comments.
We also told you to come out and support me at my marathon.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you still sore about that?
Is that the main reason you're going to run
Still
in
hanging.
Malaga? So that there's no question that you could go and support Andy?
Well, Andy won't be supporting me. Yeah, exactly.
No, but I'll be running the marathon.
He won't be able to support me as well.
That's true.
So it's
when
two ways
Rick
round.
ran London Marathon, did you support him?
I think he did, actually.
Yeah.
You did. You did actually go out and cheer.
I think he did.
Rick thinks I did, so I'm going to say yes.
Oh,
you didn't?
I can't remember.
Fake friend.
So a good few comments though on Strava about my 10% increasing. This one from Robert Linton.
Oh, good.
Great time, Rick.
We're hearing all the comments.
Especially considering the hilly terrain that you're up against.
Yep.
Oh my
North
gosh.
London. Don't encourage him.
We're
He's a
going to
nightmare already.
discourage people from moving to North London because they don't want the hills. It's really flat.
Dylan Swanpole. Was that 2.2 aerobics or pulse cheetah?
Do we need to re-explain the whole pulse thing? Because I feel like that was in a very early episode.
Yeah.
So this was on an episode of Tech Support with Rick, as I like to call that segment of the podcast, which is some element of life or technology that Rick doesn't understand.
Yes.
And it started with something on his watch where it would tell you, or there's an option for pulse ox.
Yeah, so I was looking at pulse ox on my watch and I just thought it was about my pulse, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. It was a brand new watch, never seen it before, and it kept on popping up that my pulse was ox. And I was like, is that the type of breathing I'm doing that means my pulse is like an ox? So it could be a variant of
So you
said
thought it
animal.
could have been like pulse cat.
Pulse cat, pulse dog.
Pulse fish.
Yeah.
So
Good swimming today, Rick.
That's potentially a legitimate reason about what it could be if you've not seen.
I mean,
pulse.
I don't think anyone else in the world has ever, on their running watch, thought, oh, wow, it's equating me with the type of animal my heart rate might be.
I'd had a really strong run. I felt good. I felt powerful. Yeah. And I thought, well, my watch thinks I've got a pulse like an ox.
You thought you could go out and plough some fields.
Yeah, exactly.
In the olden days.
Yeah. So
that's what an ox did.
Yeah,
oxen pulled
mules
pulled the ploughs, didn't
they? Yeah. So that's where that came from. You too?
In fields.
Yeah.
Oh, well, speaking of fields, gone through any fields recently?
Always. Back in the game in the fields. Yeah. That's all I do at the moment. Go out for a run. And actually, I've really embraced stopping and just soaking it in.
What do you mean all you do at the moment is go out for a run? All you do?
Well, No, I meant all I do when I go out for a run is look at the field.
fields.
Oh, look at the field.
Well,
Right.
Can we talk a little bit about, there weren't any fields there, but there was a lot of our lovely community when we put on a 10K.
We did.
And
We put
everyone
on our
ran it.
very own race in
Yeah.
Olympic Park, appropriately.
Yeah.
And it almost didn't rain the whole time.
I don't think you can escape that in the UK anymore. It's
Yeah.
like at some point in the day, it's going to rain.
Yeah, but it was nice running conditions.
Very
15
nice.
degrees.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice. I had a great time. You got out of running the 10K.
Yeah,
I think
I was
next time we're going to have to
comparing.
rope you in.
You're the
Yeah.
hype man. We say lots of mean things about each other. You are the world's greatest hype man.
Well, listen, we had 100
mean-
runners and they were all there. They've been training really hard to try and get these PBs.
We won't give
And
away
we
what
won't give away
happened
what
then.
happened, but a lot of them ran out of their skin last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, including Andy with some excellent pacing.
Thanks. Yeah, you'll have to watch the video to find out how I actually got on pacing my group. But I'm pretty pleased with myself. But yeah, Rick is the greatest hype man when he shows up to support.
Yeah.
So
I'll be there in Malaga,
Yes,
December
you
the
will.
15th. Oh, this is our last podcast before we go to Paris.
Yes.
And we've got something really exciting to tell everyone about Paris. While we're in Paris, we're going to be doing a podcast every single day called 10 Days in Paris. So if you like us, you can listen to us every day during the athletics. We'll release about lunchtime, Parisian time.
That is dependent on
Yeah.
how quickly Rick edits it and how much Gabby he's had the night before.
And how many I say and he has to take out.
Yeah.
He's been very cross with me in the
This
recent
is
weeks.
the honesty podcast.
Actually,
today.
you know what? Can we discuss a little bit about last week's podcast
Go
and
on.
what you said about the edit?
Yes, if we have to.
Rick, yeah, you said that you had to separate the 3 mic channels for all 3 of us. And then I think your exact words were, and then I had to mute myself because I was so annoying.
It was the biggest car crash of an opening minute I've ever had to deal with on this podcast.
Yeah.
Hey,
there we go.
But
Yeah.
you...
But that
yeah,
was about fashion.
But before you segue.
No, that was
just-
about love. This is about fashion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that was correct.
Yeah.
But this is the last one for the next few Saturdays of our regular podcast because for that 10-day period, you'll get a daily podcast from Paris, taking us with you, everything that we experience, and we'll answer your questions that are specifically about what's going on out there. So please make sure you email into podcast@therunningchannel.com. Tune in every day or binge them all in one go. It's not just going to be a kind of news podcast. There'll be some exciting stuff in there.
Binging it all in one go, you'll really be able to see how tired we are by the end.
Yes. Yeah.
It's going to be good. But speaking of Paris, one of the things it's very famous for is Paris Fashion Week.
Nice.
So we're going to be
Sarah,
talking
top
about,
class.
thank
Top
you very
class.
much,
Top class.
is running back in fashion, not just being fashionable, but is running becoming the thing of the moment? Now,
Yes.
obviously, I'm the most dialed in to what the young people are
Well,
doing.
you and I have both come dressed.
Yeah, we're in our
the same
very
today.
fashionable.
We
I
are.
came here for the science, but all I got was this useless banter t-shirt.
Yeah.
I sweated through it, so I couldn't wear it today.
Just with the nerves and the anticipation
Yeah.
for this podcast.
Well, this is not a rhetorical question.
No, there is an answer, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
go on, Rick. Give us the answer.
The answer is yes.
Okay,
Yes.
podcast done.
Yeah.
Done. See you next week.
Yeah.
No, I want to start though with Andy. You ran back in the day and you run now.
Less of the back in the day, but yes.
Can
that's
you
correct.
walk us through when you were competing
Yeah.
circa 2008, 2012?
Yeah.
If you wanted to go out on a run and look 10 out of 10, could you just describe like what your most fashionable running outfit would have consisted of?
Mine. Well, I have a slightly different attitude now. But I was very clear on what you shouldn't wear.
Right.
So
Okay.
definitely no shorts over tights or shorts over cycling shorts.
Yeah.
And I would always have run. Actually, at that period, weirdly, I would always have raced in split shorts. Always, no matter the weather. But I always trained in half tights, cycling shorts.
Right. Any
Um,
reason for that?
I think they kept my muscles warmer for training.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was a little bit like saving your race shoes for race day.
Right.
I was saving the split shorts, which are super light and really completely unrestricting.
Yeah.
Let everything breathe. And they're very, very short.
Yeah.
I saved them purely for racing. And that felt like, you strip off your final layers on the track,
Yeah.
put them in the little box that someone's carrying off the track for you. And that felt like you were getting kind of lighter and ready to race and getting faster.
And did you like getting your legs out? Did you feel like, yes, this is hot fashion?
I look back on a lot of pictures of me at training camps and I'm literally just in a pair of shorts. So I was clearly definitely
Great. Did you shave your legs?
I did shave my
legs.
legs.
Was that for aero reasons or appearance reasons?
It started because I was getting such regular physiotherapy and massage. I was quite injury prone as well. And so often you'd be getting tape on your legs from the physio. Quite painful to take it off.
Yeah.
And actually getting a massage is way more effective when you've shaved your legs. And so that's how I started. And then when you're in shape at that level, like you do, and I definitely had dangerous body image problems at some points. Slight body dysmorphia and things like that, which maybe we should talk about in another episode, and I'm not being dismissive of it. But then you're in this world of like looking at your competitors, looking at yourself. And I thought that when I shaved my legs, I looked leaner, and that made me feel faster and kind of more ready to race. Not really talked about fashion at all there, have we?
No, so we've tackled the bottom half.
Yeah, I would never have tucked a t-shirt in. Whereas I would say that now actually like t-shirts being tucked in is a bit more of a thing.
Yeah.
I'd have just worn half tights and a t-shirt untucked. But the socks as well, I would say that during that point it was hidden socks.
Oh, really?
So I think that like, and
different.
that's also quite a millennial thing. I think during the 90s, if you went out in the summer, not as a runner, then you would have worn shorts and like trainer socks. And the whole point was you didn't see the sock. Yeah. Whereas now I would say that the fashion is crew socks being pulled up tight.
But not to get too deep into the body dysmorphia issue in pro athletes, but that for you, that was about, how your skin and how your shape looked more than about what clothes you were wearing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it both?
But I think that the only way that this relates to the fashion side of things is that two things. One, when you're a happy runner, you're a more competitive, fast runner. Like you're able to run at your best when you're just happy in life.
Yeah.
And then as a pro athlete, one, you're comparing yourself to others, even though you shouldn't. You're doing it either consciously or subconsciously. How they look, how fast they're running, all that sort of stuff. And when you feel in really good shape, when you look good, when you get sent new kit, because as a sponsored athlete, I would have been sent new kit and new shoes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That did make a massive difference to how you felt going out there to compete. And so I think that, feeling like you looked lean and fast and muscular or whatever it would have been from my perspective. And at various points I was obsessed with weighing myself. That all played into it. But all of that kind of came down to feeling like you were like look good to run fast kind of thing.
That's what Tom quite often uses as he has like a little like look good, feel good, run good. But his is very much in the like more based in the fashion element of it, of like he is so obsessed with what colorway he gets his trainers in or like loves having the sunglasses. Like that's kind of the fun of putting together the outfit to then go out and run.
And aren't there companies now that you can go and order a pair of running socks that match a particular brand's like super shoe?
Yeah.
Or their latest colorway.
Yeah, like has that always existed or is that new?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I love...
I still haven't figured out running socks.
Yeah, you comparatively... Do you care what you look like when you run?
Sarah, that is a loaded question. Which is what you've said to him there is you've looked him up and down for anyone not watching the video.
It's so
and you've gone looking at you, looking at this mess in front of me. Do you in any way care or make any effort?
You could have said sweaty mess, but Rick's got his own personal fan, so that's not problem anymore.
That's true.
I don't worry about it too much. I step out and I think probably look pretty good, and let's pound 9.9.
Is that before or after you've applied makeup before going on the run?
I think I just kind of attack the day and go for it.
I would say you're the biggest diva in this threesome, though.
Yes, I am the biggest diva,
because
but that would be not for the actual run itself, because my intention is always survival.
Yes, but right now we're sat here in quite a warm studio, but Sarah and I are pretty comfortable.
Yes,
of the three of us, we've got a nice fan in the studio. Sarah, is the fan pointing at you?
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
Andy, is it pointed at you?
It's not pointing
and we're
at me.
both in long sleeves.
Yeah.
But Rick,
I'm slightly more hot-blooded than you two, though.
Yeah. Well, you do have to sit next to Sarah every week.
Yeah, your body temperature is probably 37.2, 37.3. Mine's probably 37.8.
Okay, we should bring in.
I've got so gonna test that.
I think my body temperature.
Me and Andy are just gonna do like star jumps in the corner and then sit down and be like, okay.
So just like Sarah has kind of natural resting mean face, you have.
I'm a radiator.
Resting hot temperature.
Literally, I'm a cast iron radiator.
Sarah didn't even react to the mean face.
I'm
thing.
just. Do I?
No, I don't know. I was just trying to for comedy effects.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't care.
Well, I mean, I will make an effort, but the whole running sock thing just blows my mind all the time. I still don't understand what the difference is between a normal sock and a running sock.
Why don't you make an effort for the podcast?
What?
Let's quickly segue away from that one.
No,
and
so
now,
what's influenced the change in fashion? Like there's a whole host of brands that are apparel only brands.
Yeah.
And they're quite expensive, some of them as well. Some of them real technical focus, but a lot of them it's more of a style or identity thing.
Yeah.
And I think that some of that came out of cycling, where there was this desire to have a brand or some clothing which was expensive, but that was for a certain demographic. Maybe you like run commute, or you'd go to the pub after run after work, and you could kind of get away with wearing that kit in that culture. Like cycling has coffee shop culture. You cycle to a coffee shop, have cake and coffee and so on. Running didn't have that. But I would say now, related to run clubs, people go to run clubs, socialise at the run clubs, and then hang around afterwards as well.
I see. So you're dressing up. No, I get this.
Yeah.
So you're dressing up for an event rather than just the run itself.
Yeah, whereas previously you'd have gone for a run, gone home.
Yeah.
So you wore. I would have worn exactly what technical clothing I needed to wear for my run, and then go home and take it off.
Yeah, and you're probably like starting and finishing at the same place as well. I feel like as well it stems from like active wear has become such a thing. Like buy your active wear to go to the supermarket to get your chores done or your tasks done. Running, I would say, like is an offshoot of that, because activewear isn't necessarily going to facilitate running in the best possible way. In the same way that like our advice now would be, I know loads of people where the first run that they've ever done is in like Converse or in what we would buy now as like fashion kind of dad trainers, inverted commas.
But Sarah, look at the turnover of the major running brands, and even the brands who 5 years ago had a presence in running, but not a significant presence. They've spent enormous amount of PR money and also design money in creating specific running lifestyle and leisure branding, which didn't exist before. So some of the brands didn't care about running before, but now they've just thrown millions of pounds into making it. And you look at the growth of those brands, and running is one of the biggest growth areas of all sports when it comes to major athletic brands making money.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can talk about a couple of specific brands that have done that and totally changed their position in the market.
Yeah.
So the two that immediately spring to mind, and we're not commenting at this point on their like performance credentials. Hoka.
Changed the game.
Like if you think about before Hoka, what their aesthetic is like these big max cushion shoes that have now proliferated across all the other brands. Like that's the fashion, right? What would have been 5 or 6 years ago big ugly trainers,
they were a driver,
are now the fashion. And then alongside that, On Running sell a lot of their shoes through fashion stores in the UK, where the people buying them don't even associate them with running shoes.
They just look cool.
And then Salomon, for example, as well, have been resurgent in that, whether it's their walking or their like kind of original walking or running shoes. I think that they have a very distinct aesthetic. And then the awful thing for me is that now the shoes that like New Balance's biggest selling shoe, Asics' biggest selling shoes now from a lifestyle or sports style collection are the shoes that I actually used to run in the 90s or early 2000s.
Lifestyle ones.
Yeah, so like the Gel Kayano 5 or whatever I would have been running in the late 90s. The New Balance, like the dad shoes, which are now like everyone's embraced that in a kind of ironic, it's cool
they're
way.
like 531.
But then 10 years ago, it was a joke that like they were the barbecuing dad's shoe in the US. And like you'd have been wearing chinos, a tucked-in polo shirt. You'd had a pager or a mobile phone holster on your belt.
Yeah, I can see the vision.
And a white t-shirt underneath that polo shirt, and then you'd have worn these shoes. But then now they're like the height of fashion and the biggest selling shoes for these brands.
I do think as well, like it's the combination of, if you take a brand which is perceived as kind of cool by the mass market, like all of those brands that you've listed, it's the association that what they have is quite cool. Then when you couple that with the fact that running is relatively accessible. Like, you don't need to be spending all of that money on it. But then when you go like, oh, if you get into it, you could get this and you could look like this. And then when you couple that again with, and on a Friday night, don't go to the pub anymore. Go to a run club, whack a boombox on your back, and that's your Friday night activity.
Yeah, and that's Friday Night Lights, right? That's a big thing where you pay an entry fee and then you go and run around the streets at a very set pace, which is quite like a relatively achievable pace for most people. Like, no one gets left behind. It's a big group activity. And then alongside that, we talked about love and runners last week, but there's this big move towards like, that's a social. That's like, instead of going out to the club or the pub, you're going out for a run and then chatting to people afterwards and thinking, whereas we said I think 3% of people met through running, I think that number's going to change massively now, because people are almost setting out to use it as dating. Not everybody. Sometimes it's just a way of meeting people that like something you like. But yeah, that's a big change too.
Yeah.
I think it's major change. Like, the running clubs have mixed up everything. And I don't think it will affect the accessibility of running, but the idea that, you know, running is accessible for everyone because it's cheap, you can just buy yourself a pair of trainers and get out there. The fact that we have now got these running clubs and you're dressing out, you're spending money on kit to go, then it puts it into a different bracket, doesn't it? Yeah,
and I wonder if it replaces that, like, because exercise is becoming such a bigger part of people's lives, like, is that replacing the money that you would have spent on your going out outfit?
But you're
for
still
a Friday
going out,
night?
aren't you? Because a lot of these run clubs, they'll have a bar or something. So
but then you're still in your running kit, so you don't need the other outfit.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
And then it's but I hope that what we don't lose in running is that, or what we don't end up gaining in a bad way. Cycling, in my experience, I have tried to dabble in cycling in the last 10 years, and there's a jokey kind of ironic set of rules for cycling about what you should and shouldn't wear and how you ride your bike and have the setup and how high your socks should be and whether you wear white and black socks with white and black shoe, whatever. Yeah. And that there
mud
is
guards. Apparently you're not allowed mud guards.
No, exactly. Showing up at like a Sunday ride with mud guards would be like a big faux pas.
But you're spending hundreds of pounds on your like
kit,
whatever the kit's called, and then you're going to get mud splattered all up your back.
100%. But the
sorry to any cyclists.
No. Well, I mean, and I might be wrong now, but I've found at various points I didn't feel like it was quite intimidating to show up because I was worried I'd have the wrong kit on. What's always been amazing about running is you can rock up in your cotton cotton t-shirt that you did school cross country in, or a pair of rugby shorts, rugby socks, and like some old shoes, or you can have all of the gear and no one will judge you. What I hope is that people don't feel the need to, like, running's amazing because everyone looks different, everyone runs at different paces, everyone has a different goal, and so I hope that these amazing running clubs continue to be like, yes, if you want to pull your socks up a certain way, wear a cool hat. Hats are a big thing, I think, in the last 5-10 years. That's massively changed.
You love a hat.
I do love a hat, especially now.
You love an East London beanie.
I love an East London beanie. I also love a flat peak hat. All of that stuff. But like at the same time, I love it if someone just rocks up in whatever. If they're out there doing running, I love that too. So, like, let's like make a pact as a running community that we accept what everyone wants. So you can dress in what you think is the height of fashion. That's fine. And not be judged as being like someone who's got all the gear and no idea. But at the same time, you can rock up in what you used to wear. Short length doesn't matter unless you're Rick, because we did a video on that. And you wore an old pair of my race shorts. I think they were 2-inch split shorts.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
That was bad.
Frame now.
Can't believe that exists online.
Just before we move on, I was just going to talk about the popularity and the fashion of long distance, as in super long distance, so ultra running and marathon running. And I was trying to get this stat because I know you two are going to, I like to source my stats. Yeah. I want to bring them up. Yeah. So
you do. You ask your children whatever they make up, you pass on to us.
You just fish around in the bin for the first number.
This is widely reported by many of the major marathons.
Rick's tombola of made up facts.
Okay. Am I going to be able to get this out?
Roll up.
Right, you two, pipe down.
I'll deliberately give Rick a hard time because he hates this.
I'll edit you out.
Sorry, Mr. Kelsey.
Okay, so
I love you.
Of regular runners, only 2% run a marathon.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're out here always talking about marathons. We're always talking about the fashion of ultra marathons that have become incredibly popular.
Yeah. Also, only
and even a tiny percentage of regular runners run ultra marathons. So I think sometimes when, if you listen to this podcast week in, week out, and, you hear ultra marathon, and you think, oh, well, I haven't done that. You can get a bit despondent
Yeah.
to it, because you're just thinking, well, I haven't done that. But actually, you're in the majority. Most
Absolutely,
people have not done that.
Yeah, we talk about it, hopefully, to be a little bit like, oh, you could do that. Or you could just take interest in other people doing something that you might never do, but you still find it interesting to think about. Like, I'm never going to run the Berkeley Marathons, but I find that massively interesting because it's bonkers, it's incredibly hard. People are pushing themselves. And so, we're all about whatever improvement is to you in running, listening to this. And that could just be getting out more regularly or running a new distance or running for your mental health. Like, we are here for it.
Very excited, though, to see what happens to the world of endurance running in the next 5-10 years, because I feel like not that many 200-mile races have existed, and now a few more are popping up. And there are loads of people taking on incredible feats of endurance, whether that's John O'Groats to Land's End or 10 marathons in 10 days. Like, loads of people are kind of leveling up their challenges, and at some point I feel like that's going to reach a ceiling, so I'm interested to see what becomes the most popular
just
out
go
of that.
into reverse and everything gets shorter, so we'll go for the shortest races.
Well, maybe
I am ready for all out miles,
because I think that constant, like, it's a bit like one-upmanship, where it became a thing. Marathons for ages, they're still an incredible thing. But, if your friend starts to raise money for a marathon, it's a bit more like, it's quite likely you'll also been asked by 4 or 5 other friends to raise money for their marathon they're doing. So then people step up to an ultra marathon or to running certain number of marathons in a certain number of days, because in order to raise the most amount of money, you have to do something which people go, oh my goodness, that's hard.
But your challenge is relative to you, isn't it? So if you've got a certain health condition, or you've never been to that place before, then your marathon is somebody else's super duper ultra marathon.
Yeah. Also, I always think of what Andy says this to anyone in the team after they do an event and run a PB, because we're all so hard on ourselves. And if we're like, oh yeah, but I could have got, you'll go like, no, you've just run that in the fastest that you have ever run that. Yeah. Whether that's like a marathon, a 10K, a 1K, whether that is your first 5K, like your personal best is the fastest you've ever done something. And that's incredible in itself.
Bring on Malaga. News time.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've got a piece of news.
Okay.
From, I feel like this is, if anyone listens to or watches Have I Got News For You, they always pick an obscure publication that they take news stories from. This is, I'm a regular reader of Physics World.
Are you really?
You know what? No. I actually wouldn't. I
you could probably believe
that. I'm like, fair. What you do with your own time?
Yeah, I did have a background in
bedtime story for child number 5.
Physics and engineering. Yeah, sometimes you just run out of material, and there's only so many times you could read
Physics
Harry
World.
McClary.
I always go to Horse and Hound at that point.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, Physics World, that fits with your image, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, Horse and Hounds. Isn't that what Hugh Grant claims to be from in one of those movies?
Correct.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
Is that where you order your caviar face cream from?
No, you know where I get that from.
So he's ordering either canine or equine face products.
Yeah.
This is a very random news story.
Oh, yeah.
But it did pique my interest, which is the headline is, could athletes mimic basilisk lizards and turn water running into an Olympic sport?
Sorry, what type of lizards?
Stop it. Like, are they the ones that like just go on the water?
They do exactly that. That was an incredible visual representation from Sarah. She waved her arms about. Basilisk lizards can run and sprint for short distances on top of water. It doesn't matter how deep the water is.
Wow.
Interesting. So they're wondering of the physics of...
Yeah, they looked at the physics of this. So
I reckon we're too top heavy.
So, I mean, I can give you the answer in a minute. What do you think? Could humans physically do this? Could they run on water if they went? Do you think anyone could go fast enough or develop a technique to do it?
When we get a villa in Spain, I always try this. After a few G-dogs, I always try to see if I can walk.
Okay, describe us your technique.
So, what I do is...
Put the glass of wine down.
Yeah, put the glass of wine down, plastic cup, and then I line up all the unicorns in the swimming pool, and I try to run across the water.
So you're running on the inflatables.
Yeah.
It's not on the water. So I'm talking more like David Blaine.
How many unicorns have you got?
We always bring a couple of unicorns, maybe 3 or 4 unicorns with us.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I mentioned David Blaine there. Do you know who that is, Sarah?
No.
Oh, he's a magician.
He's a magician.
He was famous for doing an illusion where he stood on the water.
Like Dynamo.
Yes, like Dynamo. Who's the original Dynamo?
Oh, right.
As in before, he froze himself in a block of ice, suspended himself above like a... He's done loads of crazy stuff.
Wow.
He did something crazy on the Thames once, didn't he?
Yeah. So the lizards can run across water. These scientists did some science, unsurprisingly. Brilliant. So actually we're going to talk about science, not banter. And
about time.
they analysed the weight of the lizards and then the technique. So one, they rock massively from side to side. So it's not just forward movement. They angle their feet as you're both doing an incredible lizard impression. They angle their feet sort of slightly downwards so that when they make contact with the water, they're pushing themselves forward.
That's what I do on the unicorns.
So almost like a swimming motion.
So they're breaststroking a little bit.
But they just, the reason that it's interesting is that the surface tension, which provides a degree of support for things that are very light to float on the surface of the water. But the lizards are too heavy to be carried by surface tension, so they have to have a technique to be able to do it. Right. And then the long and the short of it is that they did something which it made me exciting when I was reading it, because I actually used the same technique in my masters. Sarah and I both did a masters.
Sliding.
Called particle image velocimetry, PIV, where they put tiny little particles in the water so that they can kind of track the way the water moves. Yes, very boring. Anyway, the answer is that
was the bit where he went too far.
Yeah, too far. Lost me. So gone.
But to finish, they then tested it with humans, and they had to significantly reduce the weight of the humans as if they were like at lower gravity by putting them in a harness to enable them to do it. And I think they had to go down to like 10% of body weight. So the answer is no, humans can't do it.
Yeah.
Should we do some questions?
Yeah.
James from Markdale in Canada. I was actually looking up where Markdale was because I thought I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Where is
it's
it?
in Ontario, just north of Toronto.
Okay.
Which is where the Great Lakes are. Can you to name the Great Lakes?
There's Big Lake number 1. Big Lake B. Big Lake number 2. Yeah, then there's Big Lake C.
4.
I feel like when you tell me them, I will recognise the names, but no, I can't.
Called?
Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario.
Oh, so I'm assuming Lake Michigan crosses the border.
I think so. I have a question about natural skill. I currently run a 5...
Rick out.
God's sake.
This is relentless.
Yeah.
And now we're going to Paris to spend 12 days with each other.
This is what I mean. I think it's going to go badly.
I currently run a 5K at around 23 minutes. Good time. And that's with no training, just going out and running. I consider myself to be fit and play lots of sports, but I've never actually trained to run. If I or anyone were to train 5 times a week, is it inevitable that I could eventually run a sub-16 5K? No. Barrier injury.
See you next week.
I'm sorry, James. Rick has no faith in you.
Or is there a certain level of natural skill that's required that only a few have? I mean, this is a good question, but there are limits, aren't there? So there's a scale. Like if you're somewhere on the scale.
Hang on. Is this because what's your 5K PB?
23:08.
And are you thinking of yourself being able to run a 16-minute 5K?
Well, that's just ridiculous.
The way that I think about these things to make myself feel better is that right now I can run a marathon in 3 hours and 44 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, not right now, this year. How I like to think of it is if I really trained like really hard, eventually I could run a sub 3 hour marathon, but I don't want to train that much, so I won't.
I see you don't want to. Maybe you could settle for 5 past the hour or quarter past the hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3:15.
Or half past.
Half past, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's achievable. Don't tell me that's not achievable. That's the big goal.
It is achievable, Sarah.
All right, fine.
I've always had faith in you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Unbelievable,
Rick,
but I'll take that. Go on, Andy. Do you think you had natural talent, or do you think you just worked really hard?
Both.
Yeah.
He had natural talent and he worked hard.
Right.
Yeah, both. I think what's interesting is that there's an element to psychology where you're supposed to attribute success to almost to things out of your control, like to your natural talent. Like I'm great, therefore I win. And then failure you're supposed to attribute to things that were within your control, so that you so that the idea being that then if stuff changes in your life, you still have that natural talent, so you should still be able to be successful.
Yeah.
And similarly, if you failed at a race, then you're like, that's because I didn't train hard enough. That's because of these things that I could change for next time.
That's what I find really interesting when you watch elite athletes race, like at the British Championships a few weeks ago. The athletes that kind of had some incredible like last minute overtakes and sprinted down the home finish, quite often you can see in their face that they're like, I've got this.
Yeah.
Whereas the ones that kind of just missed out have that maybe like facial expression that's, I don't know.
Yeah, we always used to joke, my coach and I, that you know, I won some big races where I passed people with like 10 or 20 meters to go. But how I experienced that race in the moment and how I replayed it to people until I then saw it back and I was like, oh, that's not how I remember it. Was, with 150 meters to go, I was like, I've got this.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to win this. We've gone massively off topic here for James's question.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, there has to be a physiological limit to each person. So, if you look at how many people in the country or the world run a sub 16-minute 5K every year, it's not very many. And a lot of the people that do it or just miss out on doing it will be running 60, 70, 80 miles a week and training a lot. So there is a physiological limit for everybody.
Yeah.
So actually, there's no reason at all that James couldn't run a sub 16-minute 5K unless you go and try and do it. But I wouldn't assume that you can because it's such a huge leap to go from 23 to 16 minutes. I would say it's absolutely possible, but in no way guaranteed.
Great. Well, good luck, James. Let us know how you get on. Also, I would love to be able to not train and run a 23-minute 5K. Very impressive.
Yeah, that was that's a flex from James.
But he did say that he played lots of sports.
Yeah, good luck, James.
Yeah, we'll see you at the Olympics.
Yeah. And on that note, I have a request. We are going out to Paris. We're going to be soaking it all in, having an amazing time. I would love you to email in podcast@therunningchannel.com. What are your questions for us about what's going on in Paris?
Yeah, what it's like in the city, what my experience might have been from Beijing and London and how that might be relevant to Paris this year.
Yeah. Any questions for me and Rick? We may not have any medals, but we're there.
No, but this is...
Aren't we going to be there just the two of us for a bit?
Yeah. One day. Before Andy comes and rescues us.
Have you ever been in the Olympic Stadium as a fan?
So
Did you go to 2012?
I went to 2012. I went to the Paralympics.
Yeah.
But I went into the stadium and it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was actually when we did TRC meets a few months ago with Brian.
Yeah.
He volunteered and had this incredible anecdote from the Paralympics.
I went to the Paralympics as well.
Yeah, how
Olympics,
the noise in the Paralympics felt almost louder. So I'm excited to relive that.
I can't wait.
It's going to be great.
Super. See you all in Paris.
See you in Paris.
Bye.